Welcome to another segment of Lance Lee's Success in Japan. Today we get to meet Mr. Jack Sakazaki of JSM Corporation. Let's go talk with Jack. Jack, you were born and raised in Japan, or did you live in the States? Tell me a little bit about your background.
I was born here in Kyushu, southern Japan, in Kumamoto, on the sticks, on the mountains, in the rivers and mountains and rice fields, and hardly anybody living in it. I mean, it was a very small village. My mother was born in the States, so she's a Nisei. She came here when she was young, got educated in Japan, went back to the States, and came back before the war and got married. So my father, during the war, was a teacher from Korea, teaching Koreans Japanese, right? After the war, he came back, or they came back, and I was born. And 10 years of age, my mother decided that she wanted to go back to the States because her sister, parents, and my grandfather, grandmother were getting old. And she was the oldest of the two remaining daughters. So I left Japan when I was 10 years old. You know, when I went to the States, it was all English. My father, however, never spoke English. He was stubborn, Kyushu guy. So it didn't matter if he was in the States, he spoke only Japanese. So the communication with the father was Japanese. But as you know, if I speak Kumamoto Ben, which is a Kumamoto dialect of Japanese, this is not a real Japanese. And speaking English in Kumamoto dialect Japanese, it was all screwed up. So my Japanese was very, very weak at the time when I was in the States. But when I went to Berkeley, I studied Japanese for 2 years again. And I didn't expect to come back here. Went through education, school system in the States. I went to Berkeley to study architecture. After I finished school, through injuries from football and judo and all the other sports, I decided to take a break. And the fact that I didn't have to go to Vietnam because of the injuries that I sustained as a sports, somebody who plays sport all the time. So I came here for 1 or 2 years. Well, at least that was the plan.
Tell me, how did you get involved in this business in the first place?
I didn't have any money when I got out of college. I worked for an architect for a year, but because of the injury, I couldn't draft. When you're an architectural apprentice, you have to push pencils every day for 10, 15, 20 hours a day sometimes. And after the day work, I couldn't lift my head because of the neck injury problem. So I had to pick up myself with my hand, pushing my head up, and actually do this. It was that painful. So I said, let me go to Japan, get away from being a draftsman. I'll go to Japan and to see Japan that I known only as a 10-year-old. So I came back. I applied for a Japanese company. I got the job. And after a year and a half, I decided that either I go back to the States or stay on and do something else. And that's when I found an ad in Japan Times, and it was an ad from IMG.
Jack, when did your big break come?
After 2 years IMG, learning about player management and about merchandising. Merchandising meaning, Armour Palmer or Umbrella Mart. You license that to apparel companies or shoe companies, whatever. So that's a licensed business. So those are 2 areas of business I learned as an employee of IMG. About end of my second year, I get a call from a guy who was a member of one of the TV networks here. He was a sales manager of the TV station. He was going independent, and his dream was to create a company which was going to introduce international sports into Japan.
That must have been truly exciting.
He wanted to do a real-time live telecast of international sports games and matches. So I said, wow, that sounds great. That's something I want to do. So I joined him, a former company called TPI, Teleplanning International.
Now I know JSM stands for Jack Sakazaki Marketing. You started this all by yourself, or did you have partners?
After I formed the company, I was traveling around the world meeting a lot of people, trying to acquire rights. I met up with a guy in London called Patrick Nally. He was same age as me, was involved in marketing sports properties events in England. And he mentioned to me that he was acquiring a rights to World Cup Soccer 1982 in Spain, and that he is going to have this huge rights which he needs help in marketing to Japanese companies. And we hit it off very well from the day one, and we decided after 3 days stay in London that we would form a joint venture called Western Japan. So that actually took us from nothing to at least a spot on a little map.
Right. What are some of the most exciting moments you've had in this business?
Every project is a new challenge. You know, you have to skin the cat differently every time. When you can't sell a property, golf, tennis, football, basketball, baseball in the same way, because each sport has a different characteristic, and each sport has a different appeal to the public or to the TV station. So every time there is an opportunity, the question is, can you come up with an idea which will entice, let's say, TV station to want to be able to want to buy this, or can you come up with new concepts and new ideas which will make companies eager to participate and become a sponsor.
What does your wife do in the business? I know she's a part of the business, but what does she do?
She's been helping our company, mainly take care of the company when I'm away. You know, I'm never around, so I need somebody to be able to oversee the company while I was away. But she does mainly a merchandising licensing and representation of an artist as an artist agent.
And your daughter works here as well?
The oldest daughter has started working for me 2 years ago. Before she joined me, she was with Accenture in Washington, D.C. for 3 or 4 years.
What are your other 2 daughters doing?
My second daughter, Michelle, is in Milan, Italy. She's working for a fashion company, Miss Sony.
A fashion designer?
And hopefully in the future a designer of her own. And the third daughter is a graduate student in Madison, Wisconsin. In fact, she just got a job, summer job, in Washington, D.C., working for CIA. Not spying. She's studying environment.
What do you see for the future?
I think I've done almost everything I wanted to do. There are a lot of interest for a partnership or a merger with our company from other companies around the world. So it is possible that we may be merging with another entity to make it a slightly more sports, entertainment, lifestyle, and more. We can make it an attractive company, and we may go public in the next 2-3 years. That's. It wasn't something that I planned, but it is something that a lot of people have been pushing me to do. So that may be my last project.
What is their idea of success in Japan?
I don't really know what success is, because when I was starting out, we only had 2 people paying a salary to another person and no salary for myself. I was still, happy. And although it was tough, now I have over 30 people, still doing the same thing, maybe working much more than before. But am I successful because we have 30 people and revenues are in tens of millions of dollars? I don't know. It's very difficult. But I feel fortunate that I was able to do something and do business based on a hobby, sports. I mean, sports was my life when I was going to school. When you went to the States when you're 10 years old, speaking no English, what can you do to appeal to the other people in the States without language? Sports. If you run faster than the other guys, they'll respect you, right?
Jack, This has been a wonderful interview, and I thank you so much for taking the time out today to do it. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon.